There is a tale our ancestors whispered, a tale of love, betrayal, and the hunger of a creature that walks amongst us on Valentine's night. They say if you love too deeply, if your heart beats too loudly in the presence of your lover, he will hear it, the heart eater. Tonight, I will tell you the story of a maiden who dared to love on the wrong night and the price she paid.
But beware, once you hear his name, he might just hear yours too.
In the kingdom of Shitile, love was a sacred thing. Every year, on the night of the Grand Valentine's Festival, couples would dance under the stars, their hands bound with red silk to signify unbreakable love. The village square would be filled with the scent of roasted meat and palm wine, and the sound of the gbande drum would echo in the night. It was a time of joy, a time of promises, but it was also a time of fear. For as long as anyone could remember, on the night of the festival, a stranger would arrive in the village. No one knew where he came from. His robes were always the same, dark as the night, his face hidden beneath a deep hood. He never spoke a word. He simply approached a newlywed couple and handed them a small wooden box, beautifully carved but sinister in its silence. Inside the box was a human heart still beating. The elders had warned, do not refuse the gift. If the box was rejected, misfortune would befall the couple. Their crops would wither, their animals would fall sick, and by the next Valentine's Day, death would come for them. And so, for generations, the people of Shitile had obeyed. They took the gift, they buried it deep in the forest, far from their homes, and prayed that the curse would not follow them. But then came the year of Sesu and Guvere, the couple who dared to defy the heart eater. And that is where this story truly begins. Sesu was the pride of the village, a strong, fearless hunter, quick with a blade and sharper with his mind. Guvere was the beauty of Shitile, a woman whose laughter could make even the coldest heart melt. When they announced their love, the entire village rejoiced, for there had never been a couple so perfect for each other. On the night of their wedding, the Grand Valentine's Festival was at its peak. The drummers beat their instruments with wide joy. The air was filled with the aroma of spiced goat meat, and the young maidens danced in circles, their red and gold wrappers swelling like fire. Sesu and Guvere sat at the center of it all, hands entwined, their smiles brighter than the oil lamps that flickered around them. Then the drum stopped. A hush fell over the village. The air grew colder, and a strange silence spread like a shadow. He had arrived. The stranger stood at the edge of the festival, his presence like a dark omen. He walked slowly, deliberately, each step causing the villagers to shrink back. He held a small wooden box in his hand. Without a word, he placed the box before Sesu and Guvere. The moment it touched the ground, the sound of a faint heartbeat echoed from within. The people of Shitile held their breath. Would Sesu and Guvere accept the gift like those before them? Sesu stood up, his jaw clenched. His voice was steady. We do not need this gift. A gasp ran through the crowd. The stranger did not move. He simply turned and walked away, vanishing into the darkness. The villagers trembled. No one had ever rejected the gift before. And so the curse began. At first, nothing happened. The festival continued, though a nervous tension hung in the air. Sesu and Guvere laughed, drank and danced, pushing away the fear that had settled in their hearts. But then the first omen arrived. That night, as Sesu and Guvere lay in their huts, a strange noise filled the air. It was the sound of a heartbeat, loud, deep, and slow. It came from the corner of the room. Sesu grabbed his cutlass and lit a lamp. His muscles tensed. But when he turned, the wooden box was there. They had not taken it, yet here it was, sitting by their bedside, the heartbeat growing louder. Guveren screamed. Sesu raised his cutlass and struck the box, splintering it into pieces. And from those broken pieces, a dark red mist rose, twisting like a living thing. A voice whispered through the room, "You have broken the cycle." Then the mist disappeared and the heartbeat stopped. But the real horror was only just beginning. By morning, the land had changed. The once green field of Shitile were blackened, the yams rotting in the soil, the cassava plant collapsing as if drained of life. The river, which had always run clear, had turned a deep shade of red, thick and sluggish like blood. The villagers gathered, whispering among themselves. "The curse has begun," the elders muttered. "Sesu has brought doom upon us all." Sesu refused to believe in such superstitions. He set out to hunt, determined to prove that life would go on. But when he returned, carrying an antelope on his shoulders, he found his wife standing at the center of their hut, trembling. "Sesu, your hands." He looked down. The antelope had no heart, blood dripping from its open chest. But there was nothing inside. A cold dread settled over him. Something was watching them, and it was getting closer. For the first time in his life, Sesu felt true fear. The dead antelope lay before him, its chest hollow, the heart missing. He looked at his hands, stained with blood that felt too warm, too thick. Guveren stood frozen, her breath shallow, her eyes filled with a terror she could not voice. That night, the heartbeat returned. It was louder now, pulsing through the walls of their hearts like the rhyme of some unseen presence. Sesu clutched his cutlass and crept towards the door, his muscles tight. But when he stepped outside, he saw them, scattered across the village, wooden boxes, dozens of them, each one placed carefully before a home, each one echoing with the same steady, relentless heartbeat. The villagers screamed in horror. The elders fell to their knees, wailing. "He has returned," an old woman sobbed, the heart collector. And then, one by one, the boxes opened. Inside each, a beating human heart lay glittering in the moonlight, some old, some fresh, but all alive. And somewhere in the darkness, a voice laughed. Panic spread like wildfire. The people of Shitile had heard the old stories, the warnings of the heart-eater, a being who had once been inhuman but had long since abandoned his humanity. He had given up his own heart for power, and now he fed on the love of others. Sesu held Guveren close. "We must leave the village." But as he turned to flee, a cold wind swept through the air. The fire in the village square died instantly. The drums, which had been left outside after the festival, cracked one by one. And Guveren was gone. Her red wrapper lay on the ground where he stood just moments before. Sesu shouted her name. He searched the hut, the river banks, the thick shadows of the trees, but there was nothing. No footprints, no signs of a struggle. It was as if she had been swallowed by the darkness itself. But then, in the wind, he heard it. Her voice, "Sesu!" It was faint, distinct, carried through the air like a whisper from the grave. It came from the forest, and so, with his heart pounding, Sesu followed. The forest of Shitile was thick, the trees towering like silent watchers. The deeper Sesu went, the colder the air became. The ground beneath his feet was soft, wet, and then he saw it. At the heart of the forest stood an ancient tree, its bark blackened, its roots pulsing like veins. Hanging from its branches were dozens of human hearts, strung like ornament, dripping with dark glistering blood. And at the base of the tree stood the heart-eater. He was tall, his robes moving as though they were made of shadows. His face was hidden beneath a deep hood, but his hands, they were long, clawed and glittering with blood. At his feet lay Guvere, her eyes wide with terror, her body frozen in place by some unseen force.
You broke the cycle, and now you must take my place.
Sesu gripped his cutlass, his teeth clenched. I will never become like you, the heart-eater laughed.
Then, give me your heart.
With inhuman speed, he lunged forward. Sesu dodged, swinging his blade, but the cutlass passed through the heart-eater's form as if striking smoke.
You cannot kill me, boy. I have no heart to wound.
Sesu froze, and then he understood. If the heart-eater had no heart, then the only way to defeat him was to return it. His eyes tethered to the ancient tree. The hearts. Sesu didn't hesitate. He lunged towards the tree, slicing through the thick vein-like roots. Blood sprayed from the bark as if the tree itself was alive. The heart-eater screamed, his form flickering like a dying flame. Sesu reached up and grabbed the largest heart, blackened and ancient. It beat slow and heavy. This is yours, isn't it? Sesu snarled. The heart-eater's shadowy form lunged back. For the first time, Sesu saw fear in his movement. Without another word, Sesu thrust the heart into the heart-eater's chest. The moment it touched him, a terrible wailing sound filled the air. The heart-eater's body convulsed, twisting, breaking. His shadowy form began to crumble, his power unraveling. No! He roared. I cannot fail. I do not need. But his words cut off. For the first time in centuries, he could feel his own heart beating, and it destroyed him. With one final agonizing scream, the heart-eater collapsed, his body melting into the earth. The hanging heart vanished, the blood-soaked roots turning to dust. Guvere gasped as despair holding her broke. And then all was silent. The course had ended. Sesu and Guvere returned to the village as the sun began to rise. The land was green again, the river clear. The people of Shitile rejoiced, singing Sesu's name, calling him the man who had broken the curse of the heart-eater. But there was one final mystery. As Sesu and Guvere stared into their hut, something caught Sesu's eye. There, sitting in the corner of the room, was a small wooden box. It was closed, silent. Sesu stared at it for a long time. Then, without a word, he took it to the river and threw it into the water. The box sank, and from the depths, a heartbeat echoed one last time. Some say the heart-eater is gone forever. Others whisper that curse never truly die. But one thing is certain. On the night of the Grand Valentine's Festival, if you ever hear a heartbeat in the wind, do not open the box, for the heart collector may return once more. What do you think happened to the heart-eater? Will he ever return? Let me know in the comment section. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and comment, and come back for more interesting tales.